So, if you've been with us since the beginning of the year, you know that we set our theme out to be a vessel for transformation. And what we've done is we've merged together the 12 steps of AA along with the 12 promises and merged them with 12 spiritual principles of the universe that operate through New Thought teaches, I should say, along with 12 action steps that we can actually take in our lives to improve our overall well-being. Because that's what we're looking to do every day, isn't it? Improve our overall well-being. Our overall well-being is how we think and feel about ourselves, and how we think and feel about each other, and how we think and feel about life. And what we're always looking at is what can we do to maximize ourselves to get more out of life, to get more out of our friendships, to get more out of our own inner relationship with the Great Divine. Easy? Is there anywhere in there that anyone has any space for improvement? Do you know someone that you need to improve? Because if they would improve, then you'd be pretty darn happy. Man, if they could just get their life together, yours would be all right. You know, I always love that I think it was Dr. Phil said that, you know, a person was coming to him and complaining about how, you know, the husband wasn't right, and their co-worker wasn't right, and their next-door neighbor wasn't right, and their grandma wasn't right. And then Dr. Phil said, just bring them all to me. I'll counsel them, make them all better, then your life will be okay. Will that work? Oh, sure. It doesn't work that way. The one thing we have control over is what? Our own self and our own experience of happiness. So these are the 12 steps that the second step that we're focusing on here in the month of February is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. How many of us think it's just a family member that could restore us to sanity if they would just straighten themselves out, if they'd just say they're sorry, if they'd just quit being themselves? Then we'd be all right. That's not it. It's that higher power that we spent a lot of time looking at last week, that what I realized, I think, for those that are new into New Thought or haven't had a long background in religion, in developing a relationship with a higher power, not a supreme being that's keeping track of your behaviors here and will decide upon your death whether you're going to get in heaven or not. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about developing a feeling, a connection and awareness to that thing that is greater than us. And that's why the snow that came this week is such a great metaphor, a simile, a teaching example of how we can experience God. So if we use that snow as an example of God, did you ever think of it that way? First, what science tells us is no two snowflakes that have ever fallen, ever, not just in Victoria, not just on my front lawn, ever are exactly alike. That's to start with. Okay, now, did any of you notice how the snow fell on everybody? Not just some. It didn't fall on your house and not your next door neighbors. If it was falling on you, it was falling on your next door neighbor. Now, does that snow care where it falls?
No.
Good. You all get a brownie or a cinnamon roll. Not now. Now the second part is, does the snow care how you use it?
No.
Does it care if you go out and, like my daughter did when we came home from swimming on Monday night, lay in it and make a snow angel? Or Wednesday night, excuse me, it was Wednesday night we came home from the snow. We went Monday and Wednesday, is why I got confused there for a moment. So, does it care? Does the snow go, oh, don't make an angel out of me? Then, if we get out there and we shovel it and make it into a nice snowball, and a big one, and then put another one on top of it, another one we make a snowman, or in our case, a snow woman. When you got 3 women in the house and a woman dog, you make lots of women things. The next door neighbor thinks I'm a pervert, but it's a possibility for my children. I don't know, somehow I figured you guys would think it was funny, but alright. So, does the snow care about what shape we put it into?
Yeah.
Does it say, don't do that?
No.
So we can have fun, right? The snow? What about the families that lost their loved ones a couple of weeks ago that were high marking with their snowmobiles on the side of a mountain? High marking, seeing how far up a hill you can get in your snowmobile, and caused an avalanche that took at least three lives. On the average, I think about 50 lives get lost here in Canada in snowmobile, causing avalanches. Now, does that snow care that those families lost their loved ones? Does it care that we make snow angels? That's the way God is. Here it is. It's to be used however we choose to use it, in whatever method we choose to use it. Whether it's a snow woman, a snow angel, a snowball, or it covers us and causes us great harm and loss and sorrow. Does the snow lose any sleep in any of those experiences? That's the way God is. God gives us this unlimited canvas to use how we choose to use it. And all that it knows is to take whatever shape or form we put it into. It doesn't dictate the shape or form. You see, we are co-creators. We co-create that snowman or snow woman. We co-create that snow angel. It's not doing it on its own. It needs us to participate with it. But does the snow care if we don't participate with it? No. No, it just lays there. You don't want to use me? Great, I'll just lay here. I'm not going anywhere. So the metaphor that I always use is the ocean. It works the same way. The ocean doesn't care if we sink or swim. It doesn't lose sleep over it. And another one I just got the other day. If you and I are standing in the ocean, we're actually in the ocean, and we're arguing, does the ocean care that we're arguing? Is it keeping track that you've argued with another person? No! Help me out here. Okay, I doubt you really tried. That's pretty good. So, does the ocean care? No, it doesn't. Oh, I gotta be careful. It doesn't care. No, it just says you want to argue. The ocean doesn't care how we use it. Because it's this natural, divine presence that is here, and we get to shape and mold it. We're powerful beings. And when we really understand this, wow, that means every thought I'm having, I am shaping and molding. Every expression of myself is an expression of how I have shaped and molded and accepted and connected with the divinity within me. Now, we all have that magical divinity. And when I say magical, don't think of just David Copperfield making something appear or disappear. I'm talking about this divine connection that there's only one place that you can get it. And it's through an awareness and a feeling and a sensation that there is something greater than you cannot intellectualize your relationship in God. It's not something you can read about, or somebody can say the perfect phrase, and then all of a sudden the lights go on, and you suddenly now intellectualize, conceptualize it, and collectively, cognitively get the concept. It doesn't work that way. God is a feeling. It's an energy that the way that we experience it is by tuning within and finding that reservoir of goodness that is always there. But what we have done at times in our life is that we have harmed, damaged, sometimes it gives the appearance that severed that link to our divinity by covering it up with experiences of hurt and pain. Has there been anyone in here that at times you have felt separate from God? If you have, it's because there is hurt and pain that has perhaps caused an illusion of separation between yourself and spirit. Because how can you can't ever separate outside of something that is inseparable from. It's so magnificent, so huge, so large. You can't just open a door and step outside of God. It's everywhere. What New Thought teaches what God is, so that we're all nice and clear. Because we're going to focus a lot on step 3, the next step starting next month. All around our understanding of God is what the universe is, what we believe in New Thought, what God is. We live in the Milky Way galaxy, which is one of 100 billion other galaxies. That's what science tells us. Somewhere there's between 80 and 120 other billion galaxies, just like the Milky Way. That's big. Now, and at the outer edges of it, according to Stephen Hawking, the greatest mind since Einstein, the astrophysicist, the black hole specialist, says that at the outer edges of this universe there's a gray matter, and it's expanding at 10% rate a year. Now, everything inside of that is God. Now tell me, have you been outside of it? So you see, when people tell me that they believe they're separate from God, it just wants to make me laugh. Or that God is some heavenly, like I said last week, is Gandor from Lord of the Rings. How many of us believe that's what God looks like? It's like, oh, bless you, that's sweet. And there's a tooth fairy and an Easter bunny. There isn't. Right.
There is too.
I love this statement by the author Ramona Anderson that says, people spend a lifetime searching for happiness, looking for peace. They chase idle dreams, addictions, religions, even other people, hoping to fill the emptiness that plagues them. The irony is the only place they ever needed to search was within. Isn't that a great quote? I want to read it to you again because I like it so much. People spend a lifetime searching for happiness, looking for peace. They chase idle dreams, addictions, religion, even other people, hoping to fill the emptiness that plagues them. The irony is the only place they ever needed to search was within. So why is it that we're so hesitant as a human race to search within? As a collective community here, to search within. Because we are at some level afraid of the hurt and pain that we may encounter, that we have stored for perhaps a great deal of time. And we feel bonded to it, connected to it, and fearful of it. And so what we have learned to do is to simply not deal with our emotional wounds, which have been referred to by a number of names, to our inner healing, to the healing of memories, and soul healing. Regardless of what you call it, what I want to share with you today is about those hurts, those emotional wounds that result from events in our lives, such as rejection, abandonment, abuse, neglect, violence, insecurity, and being embarrassed, shame, terrorized, scared, manipulated, or otherwise controlled. One's concerned with hurt and wounds that remain long after the events that have caused them. Hurts that have not healed and therefore disrupt people's lives. Calling such hurts scars is inappropriate. A scar indicates healing of a wound, and the tissue of a scar is typically stronger than the tissue around it. Unhealed hurts are open wounds that continue to fester and flare up, causing emotional pain and suffering, sometimes physical discomfort and illness, sometimes even serious forms of disruption. How many times have people shared these phrases with you, such as, just let go of it, or you need to just move on from it, or can't you get over the past, or we hear people talk about having trouble letting go of their past, of moving on in their lives or getting over something that's happened to them. I recognize a need for healing of past hurts. For people cannot just let go of their past because someone tells them to do so. If it was that nice and that easy, all I would have to do is stand up here and just let go of everything up until today that's ever been negative in your life, that's ever caused any hurt and pain. Just let go of it right now. Let go.
Okay.
You're all done. Never talk about it again, never bring it up, and most importantly, never act out from it again for the rest of your life. And if you start to act out from it in any way, somebody's going to call you on it, and you're going to own it right there on the spot. And know that you're no longer going to project any lack or hurt or woundedness ever again for the rest of your life. Signing up. And here's how easy it is to find out where somebody is with their healing their hurts and past. Just tell them no. I found that if you tell somebody no, or you don't agree, all their stuff comes up. All of it. It's right there. No. What? What? But I'm healed. My dad told me no once when I was 8 and I can't take it. So what we really need, or let me finish that. People cannot just let go of their past. They might be able to move on, but the pain of the past remains, and people telling them to get over it only adds more pain. The pain of the past hurts creates a form of bondage. What we really need is freedom from the hurts, the psychological wounds, the painful memories, the broken heart, the emotional baggage that interferes with enjoying our lives. I always said, if we could wake up tomorrow morning and be totally free of all that stuff for an hour or a day or a week, and then we put it all back, all that unresolved stuff that we haven't cleaned up, my God, every counselor, every 12-step program, every church in Victoria would be packed, because they'd want to be in there going, what do I got to do to get this stuff out of here? Oh my God, I can't believe I've been walking around with it this long. Oh, that was just, it's god-awful. But because it's kind of accumulated over gradual time, we don't understand how much stuff we carry inside of us. The events that produce those hurts and memories may constitute a very small part of people's past, but the hurts and memories have an inordinate impact on the present. These past hurts reside in our memory and affect the way we think, the choices or decisions we make, the emotions we feel, and inner and outward reactions to other people and what they say, as well as both pleasant and painful events. In other words, what other people say to us, that doesn't affect us at all, does it? What if what other people are saying is that they keep triggering our hurts from the past? The people who recorded the Bible, whoever they may be, referred to the place where such activity occurs with a number of words and phrases, some of which we translate as heart, soul, mind, spirit, innermost being, and inward parts. Today, many, if not most of us who minister in this type of healing refer to that place simply as the soul, or in Greek it would be referred to as the psyche, which generally encompasses what we might call personality or individuality, thoughts, will, memories, and emotions. Even when the hurts have been thoroughly suppressed and no longer infect the conscious memory, they can remain open wounds and affect the very quality of our lives. The author, of many of you have read his works, Greg Braden, in his book, The Spontaneous Healing of Belief, writes, and listen to this really well, open the mind for a moment and really hear these words. It's a great quote. It says, when our soul hurts, our pain is transmitted into our bodies as the spiritual quality of the life force we feed into each cell. So imagine that all of our accumulated hurts and pains are in a sense like a buffet in a restaurant. And somewhere between 30 and 50 trillion cells that are in our body are coming up to that pain and feeding on it on a daily basis. What do you think after several years of doing that, it's feeding on our unhealed abuse, on our unhealed neglect, on our low self-esteem because we weren't ever approved or appreciated or loved or validated, whatever it is. And those cells are feeding on that daily. And then we wonder where illness and disease comes from. So that's why we're always looking at cleaning up that which is within us, so that what our cell, our body, our thoughts, our mind are feeding on is not an unhealthy diet, but a very healthy diet. It makes so much sense. Yet there seems to be a hesitancy, better known as a denial, that sometimes we just don't want to clean up that buffet, because that's the buffet we've just used to eating at. And it's hard. It is hard to change it. Literally, I'm changing my diet right now because I have realized that I do not have a gluten tolerance. And it's not easy. It was not easy to go up there and not eat Dre's cinnamon rolls that he was encouraging me to eat. But my body is allergic to it, that I finally have discovered as I've gotten off of the carbs, and that when I eat carbs, it just blows up. Blows up. And so I have to stay away. It's not easy, because I've been used to coming up to that buffet. Now, whether it's carbs, low self-esteem, low self-worth, hurt, pain, from neglect, from abandonment, emotional, mental, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's all feeding our overall well-being. So what we want to do is, what does it take for us to learn, to love, to embrace those hurts and wounds? You see, what is the most transforming, healing power in the universe, not just on Earth, not just in our little solar system, not just in our galaxy, but in the entire universe, the most transforming power that we have, that can heal, that can shift, that can cause activity to take place, is the power of love. And so what our minds tell us to do is stay away from those hurts and pains, whether they happened when we were still in the womb, or a month into our life, or 10 years into our life, or whatever, that we have been dragging along with us. Is what our mind tells us to do is stay away from it, because it's trying to protect us from that hurt and pain, when actually the truth is, the spiritual truth is, to heal it, we need to do what? Learn to embrace it, which means you walk into it and you go, you know what? I sometimes aren't perfect. I sometimes feel less than. I sometimes don't feel good enough. And you know what? I love all those things about me. How many of us have treated our hurt and pain as if it's a basement? Here's an imagery. What many of us do with our hurt and pain is we just cast it into the basement. And every time we have hurt and pain, we keep throwing it into the basement. And after a while, we find ourselves on the TV show Hoarders. Because what happens after a while, you get enough stuff down in the basement, that hurt and pain, and you've accumulated enough of it over the years, it starts to what? Stink. How does it start to stink? It shows up in anxiety. It shows up in stress. It shows up in depression. It shows up in, I can't let you love me because I don't feel good enough about myself. So I can't let you come in and say I love you, or praise me, or compliment me, or encourage me, or help me. I have to isolate. I have to shut myself out. I have to separate myself from that which I need the most, which is connection, which is community. The things that drive us the most are deep connections with each other. It's what we as human beings need, but our hurt and pain keeps us from it. And what I found is when people share their hurts and pains, they become more vulnerable, more open, more available, more easier to connect to. Jennifer Aniston, whether you like her or not, if you grew up watching Friends like I did, she was a wonderful actress, and she was raised with a great metaphysical background, believe it or not. And I was just reading an article in the dentist's office in People magazine, and what she was saying in this very candid interview is that she doesn't trust people that only walk around being positive all the time. She wants to know that they can have a dark side. If they haven't ever looked at their dark side, she doesn't trust them. Because there's a part of them that's very phony, that's covering up perhaps a basement that needs some cleaning out. And what I found is many people are always just happy, everything's just always wonderful. They're living like in the farthest room from the basement. And they're not leaving. And actually they got their head out of the window. Kind of like Emily and her friend Sarah that were hanging out the upstairs window when I was unloading this morning. Great! Oh, I probably shouldn't have shared that part. So, what do we do when we have this idea of how something should look and it gets interrupted? Have you ever had this, like maybe you planned on having this perfect meal, this perfect dinner party, and you had it all planned out in your head. And then the first thing that happened is the appetizer didn't come out right. And then your main entree, you forgot to set the timer and it burns. And then a couple of people that are supposed to come end up not showing up. And before long, you got a disaster on your hand. You ever had something like that?
Oh, yeah.
What about if you spent the last 20 years of your life preparing to run a race. And that race happens to be in the Olympics. And you have this perfect idea as a runner how this race will turn out. And in the midst of the race, it changes on you. What would you do? Watch the video.
When troubles come and my heart burden be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up.
So how many of us have allowed our hurts and pains, whether physical, mental, or emotional, to keep us down? And then we don't run, and we have stayed stuck, and we've kind of wanted to quit, or maybe we have gave up. Maybe because of hurts and pains, we gave up on family, we've given up on relationships, we've given up on our career, we've given up on ourselves because of our hurt and pain. Did he give up? Did he stop believing in himself because he went through a difficult moment or something happened that he wasn't counting on? No. He took it all in, embraced it, and said, you know what? In spite of this, I can still go forward. I can still move on. Because he wasn't willing to cave in to that which most people would do, which is just stay there and be carried off the track. And then how symbolic is that of the Father? What I'm going to tell you is, it's the greatest metaphor that you can see for what God will do for us. When we do this little thing called prayer, when we do this little thing of knowing there is something greater than us, and then we realize that we need its help to get sometime to the finish line. A video sent to me by Stephen Taylor. I just want to thank him for sending that. So what's important is that we become conscious and aware if we have any self-destructive behaviors, such as drinking, eating, smoking the funny stuff, etc., etc., etc. And what's important is that we do not attempt to apply or use these to our healing techniques. Have any of us ever tried to apply our addictions to our healing? I want to share with you a blog from a lady named Claire of how she tried to apply her addictions to her pain. She says, I have recently been visited by pain. Actually, P-A-I-N, pain. It's quite funny that I have just reached a stage of spiritual growth, and this growth spurt seems to have spurted my wisdom teeth at age 39. This is one of them. The thing is, one of them is growing into the nerve of the other tooth through various bungles by the dentist with bad treatment that worsened the situation and a lot of strange happenings that left me repeatedly without any helpful treatment. I have spent the past week trying to crawl up walls and doing lots of crying. A couple of times I've been able to get a handle on it with prayer and meditation. But I have a tooth pressing deep into another nerve. That's as non-negotiable as a broken limb. I've kind of regressed a tad. I'm back to taking loads of painkillers, far too many, and drinking, and smoking pot, and binge eating. So the question, how do I practice the presence in this situation? I find myself living hour to hour on painkillers, frightened the pain will be too much, and then I'll run out of my daily quota. However, I'm practicing forward thinking there, so I just keep eating. There are times when I get desperate, angry, afraid of what might have to be done to me, such as wisdom teeth surgery at my age. Yikes, bad news. So I smoke a little of the good stuff. Victimized by my own pain, wondering what I've done to deserve this, it has taken me out of my body and totally into my head. And just as I was making headway on my spiritual journey, I wandered back into my favorite liquor store. So can anyone help me with understanding my journey and maybe help me get a grip on this? No, hold on. Let's just make that, help me get a grip. Or what do I need to let go of? I find writing on the internet soothes me. Pardon me for a moment while I go throw up, by the way. And all this had to happen just as I was getting away from my addictions. I suppose the good news is now I'll be incredibly wise and will be able to soon answer all these questions while stroking my Solomonic beard. Ah, yes. Thanks, everyone. Signed, Claire, in a fuzzy haze of painkiller. So how many of us have attempted to use our addictions to numb our hurts and pains? And we think we were doing a little bit better, and then we go back to them, thinking we can handle them. So how do we heal? I've been trying to share every week the importance of healing and what it looks like to live a healthy life. For our heart is the seat of our emotions. And in an ideal family environment, our heart is safe, protected, loved, cherished, and free to grow spiritually healthy. That's how we all had it in our families growing up, right? But sometimes our families can appear as paradise lost. Each of us has been hurt to some degree in our past. That hurt tears at the fabric of our heart and leaves a wound. Unresolved, it festers into a cancer, looming under the surface, just waiting for some unsuspecting person to touch it. And kabang! All the pain from our past streaks to the top, and you blast them. And they walk away going, wow, what just happened? So how do we heal And where do we look at to make that shift, to make that change? Is we begin to believe that what causes healing is beginning with prayer. And what prayer is acknowledging God as the great physician, the comforter, the healer, and allowing the love beauty of the universe to care for our wounded hearts. Spirit alone can walk us back, not only to the painful event, but the lie we have believed all our lives. Through prayer, inviting Spirit to shine pure divine light on our pain, the universe will expose the lie we believe and brings peace and healing to our heart. And the next part is through prayer is also what's important to do is that we reconnect to our body. By allowing ourselves to feel the parts of the body that you've rejected in the past. Touch them with love and tenderness and gentleness. Tell each of them how much you love them. For instance, if it's your legs, say thank you for even existing, so that I may walk and run and dance and travel and experience the world. And the third part of what I want to share today on the healing is prayer, reconnecting to our body by loving the body parts that we don't always pay good attention to and we're critical of. And the last one is stop waiting to love yourself. How often have we said to ourselves, I'll start trying to love myself when I get a new job, make enough money to retire, eat like a rabbit, look like a plastic mannequin, find the perfect partner to love me so I won't have to love myself. A healthy soul is one that is maturing, whole, and unblemished in creation's eyes. In a healthy soul, we see an ability to love unconditionally, understand deeply, and act and react appropriately and consistently. Healing past hurts or emotional wounds helps a person toward that maturity. So love yourself now. The only time you have to be alive and thriving is right now. And you're wasting your time if you're waiting for any moment in the future. Because chances are you might not even get to that moment if you don't love yourself right now. So whatever you've all been through, each one of us has our own unique, individual, and perfect story all unto ourselves. What parts of those basement aspects of ourselves do we need to love and embrace and bring the light? Through prayer, through reconnecting to our body, through loving ourselves unconditionally and applying the greatest spiritual healing principle available to us as human beings. The love is there, it just lays there for us to either make angels out of or die in. The choice is, how do we use that power? How do we use it? The universe doesn't choose, we're a choice. Choose to love and apply that power of love, and my goodness, the healing that can occur as we move into prayer together now. May we pray into that divine power. As I right now know and affirm that that energy is moving through each one of us, assisting, empowering us, giving us the courage to embrace hurts and pains from the past. Anything that has gone unhealed. And doing that perfect, total, honest, and truthful inventory within ourselves. No one else knows your exact life because you're the only one that has lived it. And within that, there is the knowledge and wisdom and intelligence within you to know what needs to perhaps still be healed. Is there an area that love needs to be sent forth into an area of your life? Relationships, past or present. Career, past or present. Self-esteem, past and present. Finances, health, well-being. Knowing that as we apply more and more love, all it does is elevate us to a greater level of awareness, to a greater level of goodness. And I'm knowing that goodness, that grace, that abundance, that prosperity, that perfect health is moving through each one of us in this room and through each one of your loved ones and beyond. As we continue to expand outside of these walls, that our ministry of love and light and acceptance is spreading to the community of James Bay, to Victoria, to Vancouver Island and beyond. Giving thanks for the energy that permeates, that resides within us, within this room and within this collective community. We give thanks for this past week, and we give thanks for the upcoming week, knowing that what takes us into that future week is that grace and glory and goodness of our higher power. For this and so much more, I feel blessed to be a part of this community, to be in this room, to be here on this day. I am grateful for each one of you that takes your time out of your life to be here on these days. For this and so much more, will you please join with me in completing this spoken word by simply saying, Amen.